This anime begins by showing a young man named Taiyo, who is a student. After losing his family, Taiyo becomes very withdrawn and afraid to interact with others. When someone approaches him, Taiyo often keeps his distance, fearing he might lose another loved one. Despite this, there is a girl named Mutsumi who is very close to him and often makes lunch for Taiyo. One day, while Taiyo and Mutsumi are having lunch, their teacher named Kiyoichiro suddenly interrupts them. Besides interrupting, Kiyoichiro also makes Taiyo anxious by asking him to come to his office without a clear reason. When Taiyo arrives at the office, Kiyoichiro shows him a collection of Mutsumi's photos and wants to ask for his opinion as her childhood friend. Hearing this, Taiyo thinks that Kiyoichiro's behavior is very abnormal. However, when informed that Mutsumi is his younger sister, Taiyo begins to understand why Kiyoichiro always watches over her. Although claiming to protect his sister, Kiyoichiro's actions have gone too far by trying to eliminate anyone who gets close to Mutsumi. Kiyoichiro even points a gun at Taiyo because he sees him as a threat to his sister. Fortunately, before Kiyoichiro can do something dangerous, someone from the Yozakura family arrives to save Taiyo. Shortly thereafter, while at their residence, Mutsumi tells Taiyo that her family's job is being spies. Initially, Taiyo does not believe her words until he tries a gun lying on the table and immediately realizes that it is a real weapon. It turns out that the reason Taiyo became Kiyoichiro's target is because he once hurt Mutsumi, causing Kiyoichiro to become obsessed with him to an abnormal degree. Therefore, Kiyoichiro does not allow anyone to get close to Mutsumi for safety reasons. Shortly thereafter, an alarm goes off indicating that Kiyoichiro has arrived home. To prevent Kiyoichiro from targeting him again, Taiyo is advised to marry Mutsumi. Fortunately, Taiyo only needs to wear half of the Yozakura family ring for them to be officially married. However, since Taiyo has just lost his family, Mutsumi refuses to marry him. Therefore, they have no choice but to stop Kiyoichiro by force. While Futaba and the others buy some time, Mutsumi takes Taiyo to a safe place. Unfortunately, since Kiyoichiro is stronger than them, everyone who tries to block him is easily defeated. Additionally, Kiyoichiro can find Mutsumi even when she is in disguise. At that moment, Kiyoichiro reveals that he will protect Mutsumi more strictly because the outside world is very dangerous, forbidding her from leaving the house or interacting with strangers. Taiyo cannot let this happen, so he decides to marry Mutsumi and become part of the Yozakura family to free her from Kiyoichiro. The next day, Kiyoichiro is seen waiting for Taiyo in his room, but he also tries to attack him under the pretense of waking him up. At the same time, Mutsumi is preparing lunch. When she sees her brother bothering Taiyo, Mutsumi gets angry and asks Kiyoichiro to stop all of that. However, Kiyoichiro takes Mutsumi outside, and suddenly a huge explosion occurs at Taiyo's house. After investigating, they discover that the bomb was planted by someone targeting Mutsumi. It turns out that Mutsumi is the head of the Yozakura family, who will pass on her powers to her descendants. In other words, Mutsumi is the rightful leader and lifeline of the Yozakura family. Therefore, Kiyoichiro states that the most important mission of all is to protect Mutsumi. Nevertheless, her family hopes that Mutsumi can still enjoy her life. However, since others are risking their lives for her, Mutsumi is determined to fulfill her duty as the head of the family. Not long after, a group of people suddenly attack them. Even though the car they are using is bulletproof, Taiyo still feels panicked because he is not used to such situations. Moreover, among the attackers, some are using rocket launchers. Initially, Kiyoichiro does not pay much attention. But, when his tea time is interrupted, Kiyoichiro starts to move and takes them all down. From this incident, Taiyo begins to understand that Mutsumi is always threatened by danger. As her husband, Taiyo is obligated to protect her from anyone targeting her. Shortly thereafter, Taiyo has to protect Mutsumi from a bomber. Since the perpetrator is very addicted to social media, Taiyo is able to track his movements through his daily posts. However, since he has not found any signs of movement, Taiyo can only ensure Mutsumi's safety by watching over her. Soon after, the bomber makes a post that the second bomb has been planted. Unfortunately, Taiyo has not yet realized where the bomb is located. After watching Mutsumi all day, Taiyo starts thinking about his behavior when interacting with his friends. At the same time, when his classmates approach Taiyo, His antisocial symptoms start to resurface, and Mutsumi, noticing this, takes him to a place to lie down. During their time, Taiyo asks Mutsumi if he is the right person for her. Hearing this, she clarifies that it is not Taiyo who chose, but Mutsumi who wants him to marry her. According to her, other people might not want to join a spy family because she could die at any time. Shortly thereafter, Taiyo manages to find the bomb inside the attic. However, after escaping the explosion, Taiyo finds another bomb strapped to his clothes. Fortunately, Kiyoichiro immediately acts to save him and returns the bomb to its owner after successfully defusing it. The next day, Mutsumi asks Goliath to watch over Taiyo so that Kiyoichiro will not attack him again. Unfortunately, Taiyo accidentally steps on him, causing Goliath to attack him. Because of the attack, Mutsumi immediately apologizes to Taiyo and tends to all his wounds. Because of this, Taiyo feels that if this situation continues, he will not be able to protect Mutsumi, so he begs Futaba to make him stronger. Hearing this, Futaba says that they plan to train him little by little. However, since Taiyo does not want it to take too long, Futaba emphasizes that it is impossible because even the Yozakura family took a long time to master their abilities. Despite this, Futaba does not want Taiyo's feelings for Mutsumi to go to waste. Therefore, she suggests undergoing intensive Yozakura training, with the condition is that Taiyo must stay in the house for a month. After some time, living in the Yozakura house turns out to be more difficult than Taiyo expected. Just walking through the hallway, Taiyo has to struggle to avoid dangerous traps. Moreover, Taiyo has to eat food that has been poisoned to increase his body's resistance. During this time, Mutsumi is very worried about Taiyo, but she cannot do anything because her brother forbids her. This difficult life continues, where Taiyo has to use a gun just to watch TV. Due to frequent training, Mutsumi is very worried that Taiyo is pushing himself too hard. Therefore, Mutsumi tries to make Taiyo realize that he is not weak. According to her, Taiyo has always protected her even before they became close. It turned out, they used to be just neighbors until high school became the turning point for everything. At that time, Mutsumi's hair was too conspicuous, causing some students to bully her. It was then that Taiyo saved her from bullying by deliberately cutting his own hair until the bullies left. Therefore, Mutsumi asks Taiyo not to push himself too hard. After several weeks of training, Taiyo starts to get used to his new daily life, as he can easily avoid traps and turn on the TV. Even his brother-in-law notes that his progress is faster than an ordinary person. However, behind all this, Taiyo is hiding something from them. After learning how to deal with toxic gas, Taiyo suddenly collapses, and all his secrets begin to unfold. It turns out that Taiyo has been pretending to be tough all along. With the help of his brother-in-law, Taiyo has been hiding his weaknesses so that no one would worry about him. Apparently, Futaba has known this from the beginning, so she scolds them all and asks them to train Taiyo properly. Not long after, while Mutsumi is cooking, Taiyo suddenly asks how to wear a bra. This question immediately surprises Mutsumi, but she says she will always support him no matter what hobby he has. Feeling that she misunderstood, Taiyo explains that he only wants to practice disguising. Unfortunately, the situation becomes more complicated when Kingo suddenly interferes with his disguise mode. Moreover, Kiyoichiro also acts recklessly, even making Mutsumi angry. The next day, Taiyo and Mutsumi are seen heading to school when suddenly a baseball is thrown toward them. At that moment, Taiyo unconsciously catches the ball and returns it accurately. Because of this, during the break, Mutsumi tells Taiyo that he has become stronger thanks to the training he has undergone. Therefore, Mutsumi reminds him to be more careful so as not to attract attention. After that, Mutsumi asks Taiyo to help with some documents after school. While doing this, Mutsumi can sort through a large number of documents very quickly because she is used to it. Even so, she still needs Taiyo's help because sometimes her eldest brother slips in their divorce papers. At the same time, Mutsumi discovers that Kingo has not attached the documents to his report. When Mutsumi asks him to complete them, Kingo immediately runs away and hides from her. As a leader, Mutsumi cannot let this go and immediately activates a system that can cover the entire house to prevent Kingo from escaping. Unfortunately, despite searching every room, Kingo is still not found, and the other siblings do not know his whereabouts and have not seen him. When Mutsumi meets with her siblings again, she realizes that Kingo has been deceiving her. Since her brothers were in different places, it becomes clear that Kengo is disguising himself as one of them. Upon realizing this, Mutsumi pretends to give up, making Kengo drop his guard, allowing Mutsumi to catch him while he is disguised as Taiyo. As a result, Kengo is forced to comply with Mutsumi's request to complete the report documents. On the other hand, Shinzo is on a mission at a money printing facility. While observing the technology they use, Shinzo accidentally triggers an alarm, leading to a shootout with the enemy. Because there are more enemies than expected, Shinzo unknowingly uses up all his ammunition and is left defenseless. When reporting this to Mutsumi, Taiyo is immediately given the mission to deliver ammunition. Although not as skilled as the other members, thanks to his hard training, Taiyo is able to complete the mission successfully. Sometime later, vacation time approaches, and Mutsumi wants to invite Taiyo to spend time together during the holidays. However, because a police officer is waiting for him, Taiyo has to hang up the phone and does not hear her invitation. It turns out that Taiyo's face has been circulating on the dark web, leading Hodokiyama to suspect that he might want to become a young criminal, as he has been involved in various cases beyond typical teenage mischief. Hodokiyama also suspects that Taiyo might have ties to a secret organization. Therefore, Taiyo is asked by Hodokiyama to reveal everything he knows. Despite being threatened with violence, Taiyo chooses not to betray Yozakura family, where he insists that he knows nothing and will not confess even if he does. Shortly thereafter, Kiyoichiro suddenly appears from the next room. It turns out that Taiyo was deliberately tested to determine his loyalty to his family. After confirming that Taiyo can be trusted, Hodokiyama wants to give him a mission. However, Taiyo cannot take on the mission now because it is time to go to school. During class, Taiyo feels very sleepy after working all night. Although he wants to sleep in class, he cannot do so because Kiyoichiro forces him to stay awake. Fortunately, by resisting his drowsiness for a while, Taiyo manages to acquire a new ability, mastering half-conscious sleep. A few days later, while reading a magazine about marriage, Taiyo realizes that he has been too busy with work and has not spent enough time with Mutsumi. To maintain his relationship with Mutsumi, Taiyo decides to ask her out on a date. However, just as he is about to do so, Hodokiyama suddenly contacts him with an urgent mission, where Taiyo is asked to find a man and a woman carrying firearms at an amusement park. Soon after, Taiyo arrives at the amusement park, but being there alone makes him look very suspicious. Fortunately, Mutsumi soon arrives to help him complete the mission. At that moment, Taiyo thinks he might make Mutsumi happy by complimenting her appearance. However, she does not understand his intention and ends up consoling him. When they find their targets, Taiyo and Mutsumi secretly follow the suspicious couple. Although their appearance looks intimidating, it turns out they are just an ordinary couple. On the other hand, another couple who initially looked affectionate suddenly become frightening when they start arguing. At that moment, Taiyo realizes that this couple is carrying firearms, so he immediately apprehends them and hands them over to the authorities. Thus, the mission at the amusement park is successfully completed. Since they still have some time, Mutsumi invites Taiyo to ride the Ferris wheel and enjoy the sunset. According to rumor, if a couple does this, they will live happily ever after. On the other hand, Cheyenne finally gets to rest after working for 48 hours straight. Unfortunately, Cheyenne cannot sleep soundly because it seems someone has managed to steal her family's data center. The next day, Cheyenne appears weak when she meets Taiyo, explaining that a hacker has stolen her personal data. Despite having updated security, Cheyenne is still curious about how they managed to hack her. As Taiyo and Mutsumi head to school, someone follows them secretly. Realizing this, Taiyo lures the mysterious person to a quiet place. Sure enough, the person immediately attacks him using various needles. After seeing the attack style, Mutsumi recognizes the mysterious person as a well-known spy named Ayaka Kurosaki. According to circulating information, Ayaka often pursues men she likes and then stabs them with her needles. After gathering information from the dark web, it turns out Ayaka is now targeting Taiyo and has fallen in love with him at first sight. Because of this, Taiyo understands why Ayaka is approaching him, but he cannot entertain her advances because he is already married to Mutsumi. On the other hand, Ayaka cannot do much because she has promised Kiyoichiro not to attack any protected Yozakura family members. Besides, they have also negotiated with her to obtain the access code to the data center. Unfortunately, Ayaka is not willing to give up easily. To get closer to Taiyo, Ayaka even transfers to his school and joins his class. Amid their busy schedule, Ayaka continues to try to injure Taiyo with her needles. However, because Taiyo has undergone rigorous training, he easily avoids each needle. Since it is difficult to defeat Taiyo alone, Ayaka starts involving other students. By injecting her needles, Ayaka manages to control the student in the class to capture Taiyo. At the same time, a bounty hunter suddenly attacks Ayaka, prompting Mutsumi to save her. After being saved, Ayaka starts to fall in love with Mutsumi and finally agrees to follow her words. After school, Cheyenne asks Taiyo to play a game with her. However, the game they play is not an ordinary game, as she has developed it to hack systems and turn the visuals into a game. After her experiment succeeds, they immediately use the game to carry out a mission. Apparently, their mission is to thwart someone's plan to crash a helicopter into a power plant. While Taiyo and Cheyenne are busy completing the mission, Mutsumi is seen cheering them on until their work is finished. Although not very experienced, Taiyo manages to progress by exploiting system loopholes. However, since Cheyenne is not satisfied, Taiyo has to play with her again in the following days. As time goes by, Taiyo becomes more recognized by many people for his achievements. Even government agencies have acknowledged his success. The next day, Nanao contacts Taiyo and asks him to pick her up. At that time, Nanao is in a laboratory that produces biological weapons such as toxic gas, where she discovers their new weapon, which has the potential to destroy life over a wide range. Because of her strong body resistance, Nanao decides to test the weapon, but the weapon's virus weakens her body, so Nanao needs Taiyo's help. After finishing his physical training, Taiyo immediately goes to meet Nanao at the lab. But Taiyo senses something is missing upon arrival, as all the guards have been taken out. Coincidentally, government agents are also there. The agents are Sui and Uga, who were on a secret mission to destroy the laboratory. It turns out Uga has long admired Taiyo, seeing this as an opportunity to invite him to collaborate. However, when they reach the research center, Sui intends to attack Nanao because she has tested a dangerous weapon. To protect Nanao, Taiyo decides to fight. Unfortunately, with his special abilities, Sui quickly defeats Taiyo. As Sui is about to strike, Nanao rises and explains that she has neutralized the bacteria. This leaves Sui with no reason to attack further, and to complete his mission, he only needs the test results for documentation. After some time, news of Taiyo's defeat spreads on social media. This disappoints Kiyoichiro as the family's reputation is tarnished. Meanwhile, Mutsumi and Nanao continue to defend Taiyo even though he cannot do much this time. Therefore, Taiyo is determined to restore his reputation as a spy by stealing information from the person who defeated him. Unfortunately, not long after Taiyo starts watching, Sui immediately senses his presence. Since he is already discovered, Taiyo declares that he wants to learn about spies from Sui. Hearing this, Sui explains that being followed by someone is not a problem for him, especially since Taiyo is not likely to be able to keep up with him. Despite failing on the first day, Taiyo never gives up and continues to secretly follow Sui wherever he goes. Because of this, Taiyo often receives direct attacks and gets involved in fights against his enemies. Sometime later, on the 10th day of observing Sui, Taiyo finally gets used to his attack patterns. For the first time, Taiyo successfully deflects Sui's attack at very high speed. On a different day, Mutsumi is seen inviting Taiyo to go somewhere, but they end up meeting Sui in a park area. At that time, Mutsumi explains that they are going to meet the leader of Hinajuku. Shortly after, they are seen visiting a cafe, but it is not just any ordinary cafe. Because 300 meters below it, there is the Hinajuku spy headquarters that collaborates with the government. While descending, Taiyo protests because Sui dares to hug Mutsumi. However, Taiyo cannot do anything about it because the journey to the headquarters is very dangerous. Additionally, they encounter many traps along the tunnel. Not long after, they finally arrive at the base and meet Rin, who is the leader of Hinajuku. At that moment, Rin immediately questions whether Taiyo can truly protect Mutsumi, because Taiyo looks very weak and unaware of the traps around him. It turns out that the reason Rin called them is to hold a tea party and discuss their upcoming mission. However, it doesn't take long for Kiyoichiro to suddenly barge in to pick up Mutsumi. Actually, Rin was Kiyoichiro's classmate in school, but despite being friends back then, their current relationship is not very good. At that moment, Kiyoichiro plans to take Mutsumi home immediately, while Rin, who still wants to spend time with Mutsumi, decides to fight him. Their battle is intense and almost causes Mutsumi to get hurt. Fortunately, Taiyo quickly acts to protect Mutsumi, but this action results in him getting injured from their direct attacks. This incident makes Mutsumi angry, and she threatens that if either of them continues fighting, she will refuse to speak to them again. After the situation calms down, Rin explains the next mission, where Taiyo is asked to disguise himself and investigate a politician named Kuroyuri. It turns out that Kuroyuri is one of the most popular politicians. However, behind his achievements, there is a lot of bloodshed unknown to the public. Moreover, Kuroyuri has recently opened a job vacancy, which Rin sees as an opportunity to send Taiyo into his team. After a few days of observing, Taiyo manages to find enough evidence to expose Kuroyuri's evil plans. Thus, the agents from Hanajuku can take steps to capture him. As Taiyo escorts Kuroyuri to the Hanajuku headquarters, Kuroyuri suddenly reveals his family's tragic past. Every word makes Taiyo think that the incident might not have been just an accident. Meanwhile, Sui reports that the deputy prime minister has been kidnapped. When Taiyo asks Kuroyuri about this, he suddenly escapes and blows up the car he was in. Seeing this, Mutsumi and her siblings are very worried about Taiyo's safety. Simultaneously, Sui quickly contacts Taiyo, and fortunately, he reports that he survived but Kuroyuri has escaped. Finally, Sui reveals that Taiyo was deliberately used as bait because their target is not just an ordinary politician but a spy formerly known as Kurogeo. Shortly after, Kurogeo makes a live broadcast in front of the public, where he threatens the deputy prime minister to reveal the truth about his past. However, since the deputy prime minister refuses, Kurogeo decides to kill him. When Kurogeo is about to shoot, Taiyo arrives just in time to stop him. While pointing his weapon at Kurogeo, Taiyo demands he release the hostage. Unfortunately, Kurogeo refuses because he has other ways to handle the situation until Taiyo is also captured. While tied up, Taiyo asks Kurogeo why a spy like him turned into a politician who uses cruel methods to deceive ordinary people. Hearing this, Kurogeo explains that he is not interested in politics but only wants revenge on the government for being involved in his daughter's murder. It turns out Kurogeo has killed many people and no longer cares about right or wrong. However, Kurogeo wants to show them what happens when they make him an enemy. At that time, the deputy prime minister is the last remaining target, and Kurogeo intends to kill him. Fortunately, Sui is already there and saves Taiyo. After that, they act quickly to stop him, with Sui fights the agents hired by Kurogeo, while Taiyo captures Kurogeo and rescues the hostage. Fortunately, fighting 3 agents at once is not difficult for Sui. Using his swordsmanship, Sui can parry the combined attacks and defeat them simultaneously. Meanwhile, Taiyo proves to be as formidable as Sui, defeating veteran agents by applying all the techniques he has learned. After his agents are defeated, Kurogeo wants to tell Taiyo everything about what happened to his family. But since time is running out, he instructs Taiyo to go to a specific place to retrieve an item stored there. Sometime later, with the mission completed, Rin immediately holds a party to thank her comrades. During the party, they enjoy various foods gathered by Rin herself. When the dishes are ready, Taiyo serves them to Mutsumi. However, Kiyoichiro interrupts because he doesn't like Taiyo getting too close to his sister. Seeing this, Rin cannot let Kiyoichiro act recklessly. Eventually, a fight breaks out, causing the party atmosphere to become chaotic. After attending the party, Taiyo goes back to check the item Kurogeo mentioned. Unfortunately, Taiyo is not ready to open it because it contains information about his family. Additionally, he fears that everything will change once he knows the information inside. At the same time, Mutsumi notices Taiyo's anxiety and kisses him on the cheek, feeling that this is the right moment to do so. After that, Mutsumi assures him that she will stay by his side even if he changes. Thanks to Mutsumi's support, Taiyo calms down, but he accidentally drops the item, causing it to open. Upon inspection, it turns out to be an optical data storage device. Seeing this, Kiyoichiro explains that the data can be displayed in several ways. However, Kiyoichiro is more interested in preserving Taiyo's last words since he bravely received a kiss from Mutsumi. Sometime later, Ayaka has just been asked by the Yozakura family to become their servant, and her arrival immediately makes things difficult for Taiyo. This is because Ayaka often attacks Taiyo with kitchen utensils, while Mutsumi lets it happen, seeing it as training for his own good. Given permission by her master, Ayaka increasingly bothers Taiyo. Even when Taiyo is taking a bath, Ayaka doesn't hesitate to attack him in various ways. However, as she is not yet used to living there, Ayaka ends up getting caught in an electric trap. Seeing this, Taiyo immediately saves her. Unfortunately, this incident is seen by Kiyoichiro, who misunderstands and thinks that Taiyo is flirting with another woman. On another day, Mutsumi invites Taiyo for a walk. At that time, Mutsumi says she feels happy to spend time with him like this. In response, Taiyo comments that her pet also looks happy. But Goliath is not friendly to anyone other than his owner. While they are at the park, someone secretly plants a bomb and detonates it near Mutsumi. Realizing this, Taiyo quickly acts to protect her from the explosion. Afterward, Mutsumi asks Goliath to find the culprit and teach them a lesson. Following the incident, Goliath begins to trust Taiyo, even allowing him to ride. The following day, Futaba decides to hone Taiyo's reflexes using a tennis ball cannon. As they prepare for the next training session, they encounter Mutsumi looking at an old family album. In the album, there is a photo of Nanao graduating from the spy license exam. It turned out every spy must pass this exam to obtain a license and more profitable jobs. Learning about this, Taiyo expresses his desire to take the license exam as well, which make Kiyoichiro and Futaba allow him to participate, but Kiyoichiro pressures him to pass the exam on his first attempt. Soon after, they enter Cheyenne's room because there is an issue with her program. It turns out that the program has caused her computer to malfunction, displaying visuals that make it seem like there is a ghost in their house. Because of this, Futaba, who cannot stand supernatural things, becomes very frightened, even disrupting her daily activities. Apparently, this incident is not the first time it has happened, so her siblings are prepared to guard her until she calms down. However, since Mutsumi cannot stay with her the entire time, Taiyo continues by reading Futaba's favorite book to her. The next day, Taiyo attends the license exam. Thanks to Mutsumi's support, Taiyo becomes enthusiastic and manages to outperform the other participants. However, among the participants, there is someone who is envious of him, especially since Taiyo is one of the most wanted with the highest bounty, making that person look for an opportunity to capture him. Fortunately, an agent named Hashifuru notices this and immediately thwarts the plan. But, despite appearing kind, Hashifuru is not an ordinary person, as Mutsumi explains that he is a famous playboy who flirts with anyone regardless of age or gender. Therefore, Mutsumi tries to keep Taiyo away from him, but Hashifuru continues to pursue him, ignoring her warnings. Sometime later, Taiyo is seen taking another exam. To pass this exam, the participants must overcome every obstacle set by the organizers. During the test, one by one, the participants fall, while Taiyo continues to advance to the next stage until the exam concludes. However, only certain participants are eligible to receive a card. It turns out that the examiners have been disguised as participants and can decide who deserves to pass. At that time, Hashifuru is also one of the examiners, and he decides to pass Taiyo because he sees a very high level of humanity in him. A few days later, Taiyo meets an unknown person who suddenly emerges from his backpack, claiming that Taiyo is his new grandson. Despite being informed, Taiyo does not believe it and considers the person an intruder. Afterward, Mutsumi explains that the person is indeed her grandfather. However, Mutsumi understands Taiyo's reaction, as anyone would likely do the same. After clarifying the misunderstanding, Mutsumi's grandfather gives money as a wedding gift to Taiyo and Mutsumi. He then drags Taiyo out for a walk. At the same time, Kiyoichiro tries to stop him but fails, allowing his grandfather to get away with Taiyo. It doesn't take long before Mutsumi's grandfather meets many women. This makes Taiyo uncomfortable because he already has Mutsumi. Additionally, Taiyo feels responsible for keeping secrets from being leaked by her grandfather. Afterward, Taiyo is invited to discuss a somewhat serious topic. As a man who also married into the Yozakura family, Mutsumi's grandfather gets the impression that Taiyo is similar to him. Therefore, Taiyo is advised to appreciate his life to avoid future regrets. In response, Taiyo says there is no need to worry, as he does not regret his decision, and Mutsumi has made him happier. Therefore, Taiyo will do his best to make Mutsumi feel the same. Not long after, an old woman arrives to pick him up. The woman turns out to be Mutsumi's grandmother and the 8th leader of the Yozakura family. After her grandfather leaves, Mutsumi looks at Taiyo with a smile, happy that he cares so much for her. The next day, the Yozakura family is seen shopping for their monthly needs. However, the items they purchase are not ordinary, and they need the right place to get items like guns and ammunition. Additionally, Mutsumi explains that the place also sells supplies for spies and criminals. While walking around, Taiyo finds a lost little girl. When asked about her parents, the girl says her father was taken by scary people. Hearing this, Taiyo and Mutsumi immediately rescue the girl's father. Because of that, Taiyo is chased by the criminal group that controls the area. Fortunately, the Yozakura family soon arrives to help him, leading to an intense battle that causes significant damage. After the battle ends, they leave the place as if nothing happened. Moral lesson from the story: never trust a teacher who collects photos of your childhood friend. They might just be her overprotective brother with a secret spy mission. And remember, if you find a bomb in your attic, it's probably best to let your future sister-in-law handle it.